the afternoon portion of the Washington County Board of Commissioners Roundtable. Commissioner Willie has gone down to Salem for an in-person forestry meeting to represent us there. So it is just the four of us now. And next, we're moving on to fiscal year 2026 financial planning and budget process. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Angie.
Thanks. Great. So I have to remember I'm talking and doing the presentation and clicking. And so I'm so used to everyone else going through the presentations. So if I don't advance a slide, please just let me know. So the purpose of today's conversation is to really start the process of next year's budget. Typically in August, your board has a budget debrief. We changed things up a little bit this year. And that debrief, we contracted with Marina and Company. So we're going to bring back the results or the findings, steps moving forward, and then also have a brief overview of, and Chair, you had mentioned during earlier conversations today, the fiscal focus in roundtables upcoming. So you'll get a bit more what that's going to look like or what we know at this point in time. So just to ground us as an organization, as you are aware, our vision is a One Washington County. Our mission, design the future, and of course, this language is taken directly from your strategic plan update. So let's dive a bit deeper into design the future. So a component of design the future is modernizing our foundational tools, the tools that employees, the board use on a day-to-day basis, processes that hopefully we don't need to put as much energy into in the future, but we really need to put energy into them now. A component of this effort, just one component, is finance and budget transformation, and that work is underway. I'm not going to spend a lot of time today providing a progress update. We'll determine when Mr. Munn can come back and give a more detailed progress update. So the purpose of today is just to elevate the proposed changes, and this is really aimed to the budget process itself for clarity, flow of information, and collaboration throughout the organization. I want to stress here that while finance is one part, they are only one part. The budget is a perfect example of a One Washington County project. And so it touches so many within this organization, and there's interdependencies in that. So on this slide, I just have a quote by Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is a management consultant, published many books. And the culture of Washington County, striving to be a learning organization, we need to continue to work, assess our work, and improve our work. And we can use the looking behind us as background, but we need to continue to design the future and continue to move ahead and learn from what we encountered yesterday and make improvements for tomorrow. So these are just a couple of your budget redesign touch points that you had conversations as a board. We have been on a journey. It does feel like we talk about budget year round, and that is due to the transformation and just the need to really address and look ahead for financial sustainability. These are the components of the budget process and finance redesign. Once again, I'm not going to go through the status update of these. Specifically, let's focus on the budget process assessment. So immediately after your board approved the budget, we went to work and contracted with Marina and Company to identify key opportunities to align our budget process with the county's strategic goals under our One Washington County initiative. Your board had approved the strategic plan update while we were already in the budget process last year. So this was really an opportunity to look at what did we learn this last year and how can we really start to leverage the strategic plan update and that alignment. I also want to recognize that we have experienced stressed and strained budgets for many years now, and that is really impactful on staff. We've also had, as many organizations have had, is turnover, significant retirements, and the need to onboard new staff in that learning space, especially with the outdated systems we are currently operating on, has been a challenge because much of the knowledge was contained by the human brain and not part of a system or a documented process. So as Marina and Company had embarked this work, they had committed to producing an executive summary. After Greg, Anover, and I have time to meet with the finance staff, we will make sure that that executive summary is attached to this item and accessible to the public. But we want to give we need the opportunity to meet with staff and have this discussion. So each of you were interviewed by Marina and Company. Marina and Company also interviewed department directors, budget analysts, supervisors throughout the county. And so this was really a robust input to really learn and grow. So what is in the executive summary? So the executive report highlighted opportunities where we can related to people, process, and technology. And what it was focused on is an integrated and more efficient approach. So I want to highlight first and foremost, across the board, what came out is the quality of budget staff and the appreciation departments have for them. They are calling them not just during the budget process, but year round as subject matter experts in their work and wanting to help kind of understand components. So that is something to really celebrate. What also came out is the value of maintaining a Questica system, but moving to the a cloud-based platform. So from a technology standpoint, we use Oracle. And Oracle, then that information translates to Questica, which is the budget software. And then we have Caseware, which is the software that's used to produce the PDF of the budget. Caseware is, I will call it, you need to be a coder or a tech expert to be able to use the Caseware software. It is also meant to, it's built to, you build it, you don't touch it, you use it. This year we broke it because we made changes to the budget document to start to align to GFOA best practice. And so staff, honestly, working almost 24 hours a day to try to get you a budget in front of your budget committee. As you know, there were some formatting challenges in that, but I want to just assure, we can't put staff through that process in the future. It wasn't fair. And I just want to take a moment to just commend all the work that staff were doing behind the scenes, their best as we were working with broken software.
Can I ask a clarifying question on that? I know while we've been in budget committee meetings year over year, I've asked for more information to be included in the document.
Mhm.
Has that been a problem because of the style of work with casework, or is it just that worst case, the ball's been dropped? It goes to helping me have a level of appreciation for where the work needs to be done. Is it, in the old words, Oracle, Questica, or Caseware?
Can I hold that and
Yeah,
come back
absolutely.
to it as I, because I'll touch on it in another part.
And if I could also
Yep.
throw out a tease, you missed your opportunity
Oh,
on a couple of slides ago. The one with budget process redesign to tease me about ACFRs versus.
oh,
I'm still embracing their aquifers now.
Well, there you go. You just,
There's my light moment.
yeah, you just teased yourself.
Yes, yes.
Um, okay, so recommendations included aligning the process with the strategic plan and department work plans. Right now, our One Washington County team is undergoing a work plan process. You will be getting a closer glimpse in that when I come to you with my first quarterly management report, which is on your rolling agenda in October. So those work plans are based on the adopted budget. So if you think about the system, and I didn't put our systems map in here, but we have the strategic plan update. The strategic plan update has goals. We adopt a budget. We work plan to that budget, and we continue to examine how we've done, what we need to improve on throughout that process. Create clear communication paths. As your board, go
I
ahead.
just want to, and these are the recommendations that came from Maureen and Company. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm following you.
Yep. Clear communication paths. We are a lean organization. We've had year-over-year cuts in FTE. And so we've had communication breakdowns. And that is not a reflection of anyone's work. This is an opportunity. How can we share budget information? Budget is a stressful time for staff too, especially as they're undergoing cut scenarios. And so this is about really project management and communication so that all have the same information and it's consistent. One of the areas that Marina and Company had said that was a good process that we put in place is we did establish a budget executive leadership team to help support the process. We just need to further document what are the decisions and how do those decisions flow out to staff across the organization. As I had spoke to just changeovers and staff, we cannot just assume that everyone knows, for example, what's in Greg Munn's head or what's in Tanya Angie's head. So this is about just that clear communication. Enhance the visibility and usability of the budget calendar. And provide access to that budget calendar for to the board too. So that is something we're working on currently. Adhere to established deadlines. Sometimes we move deadlines internally because we may not be able to meet a deadline, but that if we move a deadline, that impacts another piece of the budget process. So when we establish the budget calendar internally, that means every department has to adhere to that. And that includes operating departments, county administration office, finance. Some of the things that have moved over this last year is when we submitted the cost allocation plans to departments. Departments must have that clear information prior to building their budget. So why did that happen? That happened because we made system changes or structural changes in our internal costing, but they need that information sooner. And we also need quality controls before we're pushing information out to departments. And sometimes, and I will say departments know their information best. So they can also be helpers in reviewing some of these things for accuracy. And that's also connected to the make critical tools and information earlier to the process. This year, we made changes to the budget equity tool. Previously, departments had to answer 48 questions as part of the budget equity tool. We actually streamlined that down to 4 questions to still achieve the same information that we were using. But that change was still a change that impacted departments and that learning of what the new tool is. And then another recommendation is dedicate a project manager to ensure the process and all the elements that I had highlighted before, and really that One Washington County approach to communication. And for the people, that is the first recommendation, establishing a project manager. And I'm highlighting that versus a dedicated budget department. My recommendation is that we still maintain a finance department with budget as a component of the finance department, overseen by a CFO. Recommendation 2, improve budget training provided by the finance department. When the word improve, it's not the quality of the training, but ensure that training, we're training new directors, for example, with the large turnover that has occurred through retirements, we need to make sure everyone is trained up on the processes. Technology, Chair, this is where I'm going to dive a bit deeper into your curiosity on, I'm going to call it budget narratives within the budget. So what you will see this year is we are giving further direction to departments as far as more specifics of what they need to include within their budget narrative. We've already started those conversations, and we are going to utilize AI tools so that we are writing in one voice consistently across the county. If you think of the numerous departments we have, the different subject matter expertise, we have varying different styles coming into the county administration office. It takes the assistant county administrators a good almost 2 weeks to rewrite the narratives. So part of the direction this year will touch on further information on any service level change within the department. So that includes cut or increasing a service level, and also further information on state mandates. We also have the opportunity with the budget narratives to celebrate the good work that we're doing at the county and promote the services that are provided within that budget narrative. And it's easy to say what we're not going to be able to do, but sometimes we forget to share what we are delivering within the budget. So there's going to be more robust direction, Chair, to get to that point, and we are confident that we can accommodate that within the current caseware system without breaking it next year. So it's an and.
Well, I think there are several questions that I'm tired of having to ask every single year to understand the context of the work. You know, how many lane miles, how many this customer. All you have to do is go back and look at the Q&A documents or re-listen to budget committee meetings. A bunch of that basic detail should be included in the budget information. Because it's the context of why we make the budget investments.
Yes, we have heard you, Chair.
Great. Thank you.
And then recommendation 2, consider using Questica's report building software instead of caseware. We've already had that demo and we will be moving to that process. We're not sure if we can do it this year, but it will be for sure for next year. And that's just for a capacity standpoint. So questions on feedback or direction? Concerns? Okay. So then upcoming roundtable for the fiscal focus areas. So we are here in September having the budget process debrief. In October, we will have a discussion on the budget forecast. It won't be the actual forecast, but the levers that will be considered in building the forecast. So that will include property tax revenues, what CPI is trending at, what we are projecting, how that relates to potential COLAs, if there's any known new mandates that would need to that we know at that point that would need to be considered
Or take effect.
Yeah. So we're going to spend a bit more time this year on that. So you can also ask questions, what could be missing? What are we missing? Or what would you like to be considered also in that forecast? We're going to spend a bit of time on SIP projections, including just a reminder of the SIP policy, financial policy that we have in place. We were fortunate last year to have a one-time, and I call it one-time increase of $15 million in SIP revenues that we were able to apply to needed capital expenditures. That's not to say that's going to continue every year, so we really need to be monitoring our SIP fund and what revenues look like closely. And Greg's been actively working on that. We're going to spend some time on the budget calendar review and discussion so that we're all clear. Here's our budget calendar, here's the process, and this goes back to for us as staff, making sure that we follow that.
Can I provide a comment on
Yep.
that? I think it's great that you'll be sharing with us, mapping all the different relationships and the pieces. So, because it helps us understand all the different deliverables that staff has to do. But we also need the summary review of that, which is what will hit our visibility versus just one and make us figure it out.
Yes, staff have already been starting the easiest way that I'll say different color codes version, and that can be separated out too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep.
want a second document that has
Mhm.
the board color coded separately.
As your reference point. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd like to ask a question. I'm going backwards a point just to the SIP projections, including policy reviews, what it says. Does that mean a review of our single-use approach to SIP funds, or?
We don't have plans to update the policy. It's really a policy reminder.
Reminder?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with that. I wasn't comfortable if we were
Correct.
going to be reviewing and changing.
Yeah,
So-
no, this is a reminder.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's only October.
That's next month.
Then in November, Greg will be presenting an overview of the draft financial policies. If you recall, one of the audits our elected auditor had conducted was of our fiscal policies and looking at GFOA best practices, what policies we have in place, and what need to be updated. So Greg will be bringing back to you a package of those policies. So let me kind of walk through what some of those financial policies include. Our economic development policy, we have no policy in place. Accounting and financial reporting needs improvement. Long-term fiscal planning, we don't have a policy in place. So there were several, and I actually printed out for my own reference. So if for the public's information, if you do go to the auditor's webpage in her 2023 audit, there is a table in there and it lists out exactly what those policies are and if it needs improvement or if we need to create the policy.
Yep.
And so we've really appreciated Ms. Adams-Wamberg doing this audit. It was helpful to Greg and team because they knew this was work that they needed to undertake.
Chair. We're still on November, right?
Yep.
Have
First
you-
bullet point on November.
Let's finish November and then go for questions. How about that?
Yeah, I can wait.
Okay, so the second bullet point is the fiscal forecast and discussion. So I'm going to connect October to November. We talk about what the levers are, and then by November, we have more year-to-date budget actuals that we can build the forecast, and then we will have the forecast discussion with you. Once we know the forecast, that is where we start to have the discussion around what are the cut scenarios we will be asking the departments to produce as part of this next year's budget. This is also the time if the board has specific project program requests, direction that we have, that you give that direction to me. That's the start of that conversation. We will distribute a draft version in November of the budget principles and priorities. We're just distributing it. So you have time then from November to December roundtable to,
Don't do December yet.
okay, stop.
Go ahead, Commissioner Fye, and then I have a question too, but we'll open it. Go for it.
My question is a couple slides back though. Because of the audit report that Tanya mentioned,
Yeah.
it led me to just ask a clarifying question. In one of the slides, slide number 7,
A couple.
you listed the budgets. Is that the budget that's listed, budget policies that's listed, and what's listed in the auditor report is different?
Correct.
Correct. So if I update financial policies, that's the second bullet on the second column, that connects to the auditor's recommendations. So when we set out on the financial budget transformation, we knew we would need to update the financial policies. So this came before Christine, the elected auditor, had said, I'm interested in doing that audit. She created the audit, which has provided the background, the foundation for us to do that financial policy work.
We have a contingency plan, a policy. Excuse me. I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out, are we updating these ones or?
There's a whole laundry list. that
It's
we
a
should
whole
have
lot,
that we
yeah,
don't have.
Okay.
that we don't have. So refer.
In addition to this. Plus these.
So I would say what's in the audit report is a further breakout of what that one bullet point means, update
Okay.
financial policies.
Thank you.
Is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, on November,
Yep.
we're expecting to get the annual Metro SHS collections forecast over a 5-year period. I don't remember where in the month that will land. My concern is we already know that collections are going to be already lower this calendar year. We don't yet have any adopted policies that says if the collection and therefore the revenue that gets distributed to us is lower than our annual work plan, what are the factors or criteria that staff uses? Wait, sorry, I forgot a condition. If the amount of delta between the revenue forecast and what we have in the adopted annual plan exceeds what we have in reserves, then it means we have to cut services. And we don't have any policies in place with regard to that. And the reason that I am wondering if the board should be involved in that is because of the on the ground impacts and therefore the political ramifications for increased homelessness on the streets. So I'm merely sharing from a timeline standpoint. I don't quite know how those different things will be working. It may take us, a whole nother year to get stuff sorted. But while it came up in the calendar, I figured I'd contribute it.
Yeah.
I am not assuming we're going to be fixing it in any time soon. So I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
it's on the radar.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that into account when we look at the policies, and I'm going to frame that. It's an SHS example. I would use any type of funding. We could have whomever is supplying the funds to the county,
That's a good point.
it could immediately stop.
Yeah.
And so what is our approach
Yeah.
on grants, et cetera? So one of the policies is a grants policy. So Greg and I will take this feedback and see how that kind of factors into the countywide policies.
Yeah,
I had one question on November 2. Fiscal presentation and discussion, what does that mean?
Fiscal forecast.
Forecast, I mean, yeah, sorry.
So this is what, in essence, what's next year? What's,
So it's a 1-year forecast. Oh,
well,
usually
well,
got a
we do
5-year
5-year too.
okay, that's
yeah.
what I was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna do a full 5-year forecast projection.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so I'm going to connect back again, October, November.
Right, I
If,
understand.
if there's items that are on your mind, your concerns that we need to be taking into consideration for that fiscal forecast, October is that time to have that conversation.
Okay.
Okay. So then in December, we review and finalize the budget principles and priorities, and that includes any budget direction to the county administrator. Any program adds you're directing, any program reductions you're directing me to do, that should happen at that point in time. Of course, you as the board adopt the budget, the final budget in June, so you can make changes up to that point. It is
But it's
helpful
to the proposed.
to the proposed budget.
Mhm.
It is very helpful to the county administrator and all throughout the organization to have that direction in that December timeframe. We will not be affirming the budget principles and priorities and direction until January. And the reason we're doing that in January is because we'll have a new board. The reason I would like the general direction in December is there's a lot of process that needs to happen with the budget internally. So if departments have a general idea of what the direction is and finance does in December, it's incredibly helpful for us as staff.
I'll just remember one in this category. Language, I observe in general, language has gotten a little sloppy around where the service is provided. And the county provides county-wide services. And then in some special cases, we also have services to UUAs. And we also have certain services to rural areas because we are a county. We have to make sure that projections for the services are consistent. We know what the rural population is. We know what the countywide population is. For UUA populations, they need to be using UUA populations for UUA services. Because we know, based on track record, the percent growth of county population will be in cities. It's been that way, it's trended that way versus in UUAs, and it will continue that way because UGB expansions are in cities. So
Okay.
it may be something that not all Washington County staff involved with budget work have internalized.
Okay, we'll add that to our budget narrative, kind of overview and direction to departments.
Great, thank you.
Is there anything missing from September to January that you would like to have a discussion around finance or budget?
I just really appreciate it when April is included, simply because that's not a lot of time for all the problem solving and development that has to happen. And it helps me as a reminder versus just it helps me to see it in black and white versus just remind myself as time goes like that.
Yeah, so that's where I think the budget calendar review and discussion will
Will
be
really
helpful
help.
because that'll, we'll be able to see that full year.
Yep.
And look.
Awesome. Good. I was just wondering, that's why I was looking up. ARPA, we've already shored up. Have we already done the work on ARPA?
And
Right.
staff are, we're monitoring it closely, because we have till the end of this calendar year for it to be obligated. Yep. And while we don't have monthly updates on the rolling agenda, I will be providing just monthly updates in my leadership, report, just so that we're all on that journey, because we're not going to leave any dollars on the table by the end of And Commissioner Fai, that's in response to your kind of question, how are we going to make sure that these dollars are fully expended?
Which reminded me, we're almost at the end of September. And I thought my memory may just be faulty in this regard, but I thought we were supposed to adopt legislation, final contracts for the completion of the rest of the critical facilities. And there may, oh no, that's a CWS. Anyway, so I'll have to go back and look at the rolling agenda and catch up with that. My AR, I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for
So,
that out.
I'll, I don't have on the tip of my memory the contracting piece per se, but we do have successful contractor in place. The last contract is being final. I'm looking at Courtney.
Don't try
Okay.
and answer it now.
Okay.
No.
We've been working hard on it. I also, there's several in the, so let's make
Yeah,
sure we get the
yeah,
correct
yeah.
information from Laurel, but I know they're on it.
Staff are not concerned about those dollars being obligated or those contracts being executed.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's
Yeah.
just are approving those contracts. Got it. I'm with you. Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question. Is there, I appreciate going through this and looking at the planning side and the budget process and making sure we've got all of our steps along the way. One of the steps that I'm wondering about is how we communicate. We communicate with the public on a regular basis about these things, but I'm not sure that we communicate the fact that there isn't involvement in the budget process outside of the county until X point. Is there a place where we say that, where we talk about that?
Let's come back to that in October, how that, because we'll touch on that with the budget calendar. Pam, I think what I hear is that what's the intersection with budget calendar and process and a communication strategy, correct? Yeah.
That'll work for you.
Okay. Well, we're certainly going to learn a lot more in October. It's just more essentially kicking the process off
Mm-hmm.
here. Yep. And just like last year, it's going to be here faster than I realized. So, cool.
So would you be making a formal ask of these recommendations from the consultant, or is today is what are you looking? Let me back up and just try to say it in a way that even communities listening can understand. Thank you, first of all, for your presentation. I really appreciate it. And we're starting early. I always say that, but then budget season comes and everything is moving so fast. I understand that the consultant brought these recommendations, process, people, technology. Are you bringing to the board situation for awareness, or are you looking for direction to move forward with the process, the people, and the technology recommendations? Or is that something that isn't in this baked into this slide right here that's or the upcoming roundtable fiscal focus?
So any formal kind of fiscal request that would be related to the recommendations I would bring outside of a roundtable. So that's one. I will say I will be bringing requests once we work through the how we can for the project manager. It's incredibly important. So that I'm giving you a heads up on that. There will not be a budgetary need for the AI tools. The Questica software moving from the current system to cloud-based. I think we can just manage that within the existing budget. Good, Greg's nodding his head. So it would really be that one FTE, but I'm not prepared to come to the ask formally.
You don't have to
you
approve
today.
the recommendations.
Yeah.
That's
So are you supportive of the general direction of the recommendation?
Well, I think contingent on like, I have some needs that needs to be answered, I feel like.
You have some
Needs, questions
Okay.
that needs to be answered.
Such as,
So I think, I don't really have any feedback on the process. I do have the question that came to my mind when I was reviewing this was, the creation around a dedicated team member, the project manager, and how that might improve the the overall fiscal management. And I was wondering if when you do come back with the specific direct ask to the board, if you could come back with a cost benefit analysis demonstrating how that position will save money for the county. And what would be the efficacy of restructuring?
But at this juncture, it's not about saving money versus getting the project done on time with the quality and direction that we expect.
That's
There's
your
the-
opinion. This is my interpretation and my perspective.
The information that Ms. Angie has given us from Marina and Company talks about how there were difficulties in constructing the budget, and we saw that firsthand through our budget meetings. The proposal outlines that and more about the process. The reason for having the project manager on board is to manage the process, to meet the hard dates that we have to meet as a budget committee. So it's not as simple as a cost benefit analysis is what I'm saying.
I guess for me, the need I have is I'm not fully convinced that we need an additional position as opposed to really analyzing the current capacity and the current resources that exist to really convince us to say, yes, while we've made some budget cuts in the prior, and we're probably going to be in a tricky situation moving forward in the next budget cycle, what are the convincing elements to really say, yes, we need an additional services when there has been cuts? So that's the need. The deficit I have in terms of what was been provided and how I'm comprehending the information.
with any FTE ask, how I'll answer that. in a constrained budget environment, actually, it's best practice, even not in constrained budget environment. At the end of the day, we are the stewards of taxpayer funds. So any FTE add has to have that need established behind it. So when I do bring this forward to the board, that will be outlined just as I've done with other positions. So I want the public to know that too, we take seriously the resources that we need. This need was identified and brought forward from departments across the county too. And so staff are saying from a county, due to the impact that some of the missing communication pieces, there's an ROI on efficiency in this too. So can I completely measure that? No, but I will fully articulate that as county administrator for you.
And it's within your authority to do
Correct.
that.
Mhm.
That's, I want to make sure that that's clear,
Mhm.
that we don't approve that process.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, sounds fair.
Okay.
Anything else?
Were there other
Thank you.
questions you had? Besides,
No, I do have a minor question for outside
okay.
what was presented, but I'll follow up. I'll send it.
Great.
That's it.
All right. We'll move on then to our last, oh, no, it's not Tuesday, it's Thursday. To do board community. But I do have a question for you, Courtney. CPO 14 has a meeting tonight. Have you reviewed their bylaws and gotten back to them? Has anybody gotten back to them?
Chair Harrington, I'll have to check with Amanda. I have not. If I missed an assignment, I apologize. I'll look.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, actually, I recall.
I did do that.
Well, we didn't do that, but we did talk to them about pausing that work
Yeah.
to fall in line with our update, the work that we're doing with your board and the engagement process. We're about to engage with all the
Modernization.
CPOs. So we have communicated with them, but
my question is this, they have said that in the bylaws, they said that members of the community could not vote on items before the CPO if they were not citizens of the United States.
yes, I believe I'll have to check with Amanda. We have addressed that issue.
Thank you.
Yes, that has been addressed, and we will see what staff will be attending. Amanda is out of the office this week without phone availability, so
Okay.
we'll check.
But yes, we've communicated with them on that and also let them know we'll be working on bylaws going forward on more
I
holistic.
just don't want our staff,
Thank you.
especially since it won't be Amanda, to be in a difficult situation
Thank you.
with members. That's all.
Apologies.
No, we all get there together. We help one another. Okay, so up next, we have a tour of the elections office. So we wanted to make sure there was time for travel over to the elections office. Ms. Angie, do you know when they're expecting us? Or does some member of your staff know?
So I let them know it'd be approximately 3:20,
Oh, terrific.
Did you give
Half
us
hour.
the address?
2925 Northeast Alclock Drive.
Northeast. Thank you.
Great. Anything else? We are adjourned. Thank you.